Charlie, I saw Charlie, yes. Did you have time to review what Jessica Allen sent out? Because she wanted an answer because she wants to put it out to hire tomorrow.
Has that changed since we all reviewed it?
I don't believe so.
I don't know.
I mean, you reviewed a couple versions of that.
This one, it says it's dated, 9/11. Well, that's issued. I don't know what you read or not, but this isn't giving us much time to read it. It's only 3 pages, but.
She sent me an email last week asking for a town seal so she could put it on the poster.
And she did.
And she got the town seal.
Right
That
there.
was what she asked me for.
I
She didn't ask me to read the material. She
No,
didn't send the
she
material.
asked us today, and, I don't spend my day on the computer at home. I don't have a desk job,
I
but
was in court till 1 o'clock today. They don't let me use the computer while I'm in court.
they don't.
I know, it's fine.
We reviewed it quite a long time ago, and I would have thought that it would come
Okay.
years before it came to us, frankly.
I haven't actually seen that.
Okay.
Brittany, you said you had some questions?
It says that it's mandatory for them to attend both Conservation Commission meetings, which we know is impossible.
It's impossible because they hold their meetings on Mondays at 6 o'clock, as do we. And also, since they're only being paid for 8 hours a week, to pay them to sit here in our meetings seems
I thought it was 10 hours.
Hmm?
I thought it was 10 hours.
8. 8, I can tell you that 8 hours a week on this job is not even a drop in the bucket. But nevertheless, I have some concerns, but I don't know that if everyone hasn't read it any more than, so when I finally did read my email and I forwarded it to the other members, they also, like me, are not sitting at a desk waiting for these to come in.
She's just gonna have to wait until we have a
Yeah,
chance to.
that's all that's gonna happen.
Sorry.
Read it and respond to it when you get to it.
Here we go again.
The notary stuff at the end too, like it says if towns require, well, we should figure out if we require that and either have it in there or not, because that's a very specific thing. that we're
I've never
asking
heard as a
for.
conservation agent requires a notary to be a notary. I don't know where that came from.
The applicant to be a notary.
Why?
Please do not ask us, this is what we got from East Hampton.
I'm asking you because the roles are reversed here.
I do not know. It just says, special requirements, valid Massachusetts Class D motor vehicle operator's license, and a readily available car must be a notary public if required by one or both of the commissions. Well, certainly we don't,
So it's just better we don't.
right? I don't know if they do, but one or both, but, I mean, it's standard. Most of the stuff in here is not going to apply to us because in 8 hours, you're not going to be able to do that.
All right.
It's generic, but the part where it says will help find money,
That's a good part.
that does it. So what would you want me to tell her? Because we don't have another meeting for 2 weeks, and they want to get the job posted before that, or,
Well, I only had enough time to breeze through it myself, not really pick it apart, so. The last thing I had seen before that was just a cookie cutter. I'd like more time. I mean, there were some questions that I had last meeting that, such as, paid travel, so or not.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's in there.
Just tell them it's gonna take 2 weeks. I mean,
okay. I will
no
do
one's
that.
hired. They post it 2 weeks later. The worst that's gonna happen is gonna roll on money at the end for something.
No, and I know, it's just, this is not sufficient time to read this. So that is all I know, except that Joshua from PVPC had sent out a poll, or, a time scheduling thing. And so sometime late in September, we're supposed to have a meeting, maybe.
My schedule is booked into the end of October right now. I mean, it's like,
Well,
yeah.
I don't
So,
know.
but this is also a conservation
Yeah,
project.
mine, I can go, but it's the timing of it that's not,
Yeah.
All right, so I will tell her that we don't have enough time to look at it and leave it at that. Okay, stewardship projects. Plan for removal of invasives at Zipta Farm Conservation Area. Are any of you Mr. Jandro? Seeing no one raise his hand, we haven't heard back from the person who was going to do the work in terms of what the plan was like, because we wanted to speak about the, which equipment, so that we would understand and be able to discuss with the people who do maintenance for us on the Zipta farm, where it would be the best place to cross the field. So since we haven't had that, we will put it back on the agenda for next meeting. Status of survey work blazing. My understanding is they'd be now at the Alice Brown Conservation Area.
Yep, he started the surveillance anyway, the surveyor was out. Well, he was in my contract, so.
Okay. So, is there anything else on that topic you want to? Okay. Moving down to volunteers. Do you need to perhaps remind the schools again, yet again?
Is to contact the vice principal, and try to make sure that we're back on the list. And
Okay.
thank you for putting the call for volunteers on the website.
And would you want me to get in touch with Michael Bueller, because they had said
Yes, please.
they'd help, and so I'll push that. Okay. Zipta Barn. Now, we have CPC meeting update, so I don't know if there's anything else to discuss about the barn aside from that.
Not really, it's CPC, so either way.
Okay. Well, I'll wait till CPC then, except for Art. Did you see Mr. Seraphin, since he was supposed to be looking, and he said if he didn't do it, remind him?
He hasn't been in since.
Okay. I guess I'll send him an email with the, or call him. All right, so then that moves to the Community Preservation Committee meeting update. And I understand we have good news, both from our representative. I'll let you and the person presenting it for us share.
Yeah. You want to type it on top?
That would be great, thanks.
Yeah, no great shakes, other than they agreed to support us to do replace the roof and essentially the southeast side of the barn, where some of the rotted boards are, to the tune of $40,000. They'll support an article for the fall town meeting. So,
I mean, that is really
circular
good.
wagons, get our support
Right.
kind of thing, and
Yep.
go from there. Once we get the funding, then we'll go up an RFP and put it up to bid.
So would you be in the position to write up the RFP, or do we?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll look for you to do that once we know to.
Sure, I may see how time and scheduling goes, well, it's actually Julia's husband, Keith, offered to help me with it.
Oh, excellent.
While we were doing the playground project, we were
Yeah.
chatting a little about it. Either then or shortly after that, anyways. Being as though he just went through the whole
Right.
procurement and prevailing wage and all that jazz for that project, he's up to
Is
speed on it,
the
so.
interim town administrator also acting as the procurement officer?
Could be.
I don't know to whom to give it.
Oh, yeah, well, we'll work it up first.
Right, is Bob the interim, the procurement officer as well? Okay, all right, well, good, thank you. All right, anything else you'd want to share about the community preservation meeting?
Oh, there will be a real push for call for proposals and projects from all commissions and just citizens in Southampton. So that'll be soon in October, and there's going to be a public meeting for that.
Okay, so we have another meeting in September, but then we don't have one till the end of October. So we would want to probably at our next meeting, if there's any other thing that we think we would want that's eligible for community preservation, look at that then. Okay. The BayPAC meeting update, I thought there was going to be, when I created the agenda, I had been looking at the BayPAC agenda, and I thought we would have covered a little bit more than we did. But we talked about 2 diesel fuel tanks going up at 1110 East Mountain Road for the Comcast backup generators, a proposal for Zero Progress Avenue by the airport. And the one that was in particular was 77 Pequot Road. But the people who were the developers there didn't come to the meeting for the BayPAC review. My understanding is the zoning board told them to go talk to BayPAC because of where they were, but they didn't at that point, so. And the BayPAC memorandum of agreement is being suggested to have revisions for how the different communities pay, because there's more usually done development-wise in Westfield, and some of the other towns don't feel they should have to pay an equal amount when more hearings are being done for Westfield, but.
Oh, is that just like dues for being part of APAC or something?
Yes, yep. So we do that. Okay, next item is review minutes from August 28th.
Make a motion, we accept as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Treasurer's report.
I sent this out, email this morning. I do have one more here to sign, if you would, for the Gazette, and it's for the RDA public hearing notice for Christina Radcliffe, Radcliffe, 306. So everybody can sign that. That's all I have.
Got it right on my page. Hopefully doesn't
Are you wrong?
Typo on Holberg now.
No?
get Hilberg,
What are you?
it's Hilberg, supposed
Oh,
to be Holberg, I instead of L.
sorry, I'll fix that.
It's in two places, first page, second page.
Thank you.
So Arthur, do we have any money?
Yeah, we're getting by. We got enough for the surveying process, I think.
Thank you.
So, we should continue with that, for sure. I think they're all quite well. They did a nice job on this work. Very nice job.
Okay.
Spots are better size,
Ah,
purple spots are better size.
that's all tomorrow, thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report as amended.
Second, sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Go on. Correspondence. I did send the email to the Conway School that we wouldn't be taking them up on their projects this year. I sent an email, we got another email from Mr. Mason and Mr. Shea regarding 77 Pequot Road, showing that there were now trucks on the property. I sent an email to Ann Godin on Meadow Lane, replying about the weed business around the memorial. And she had asked me to then send an email to the select board on her behalf because she has difficulty with a computer. She has to do voice, and I knew the people, so anyway. sent email to Gene Crouch and Brian Brosnan regarding the Glendale Road legal notice to run September 1st. On the 30th, we got an email from David Gendro regarding the Zipta Farm Conservation Area cleanup of the invasives in the back there. I sent the letter to the select board from Mrs. Godin. Someone asked for information about the Glendale Road project. I sent it along. We got information from the Kestrel people about the CR. Oh, I did get, and I can forward most of this to you, the business about the restoration of the Lyman Pond Dam, basically the removal. And I don't know if you all remember what the problem is with the water pipe.
Sir, excuse me, if you're going to be talking, can you leave the room? It's here up here, so.
I'm sorry.
We, the water pipe that goes on Route 10 crossing the Manhan doesn't go on the side of the bridge, it goes down. And it, up until they opened the dam, it was underwater, and then probably under the sludge and everything. But since the pond is drained and the stream is running, that old pipe is exposed. The water department is planning on replacing it, but that of course takes time and money and everything else. So in the interim, we haven't heard anything about the dam in a year officially from anyone. People have seen articles in the newspaper, and in this case, I don't remember how Mr. Kinnicky said he came by the email, but he forwarded it to various departments that if they can't just take it down, I mean, it needs to come down, but you can't just take it down until that water pipe business is done, because that will further expose the pipe. So I don't know anything more on that. I had forwarded it to Mr. Stinson and Mr. Cameron. Should I be chasing after them?
It's up, Division of Ecological Restoration is involved, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw them in there. This should be part of pre-preliminary discussions. Shouldn't wait until the notice of intent or something is filed. It should be done beforehand to figure out what to do between the parties.
But should
So
they be
it's
coming
not-
to us, or should I
Oh,
be chasing
no,
them?
You don't have, it's not your job to chase these things.
Okay, because I don't know, and it's because there would be a lot, but,
No.
so,
I mean, as long as the parties are aware that Division of Ecological Restoration and the property owner and everybody else, and, you know, let them figure out how to do it, how to handle it. If something needs to be permitted under, from DEP under 401, you know, we'll take care of it. So-
right. But I guess, as much as you have the division, the Office of Dam Safety wanting to get it down and out of there, then you have, but the water
Right,
pipe will
the
be
Office of Dam
exposed.
Safety does not trump the Wetlands Protection Act. The only time they ever do is when they issue an immediate drawdown order, which
Right.
isn't the case here. So they can issue a dam safety order, but it's not an order per se. It just means you still have to go through the regular permitting
Right.
process.
And then it will be delayed, I guess, until the water department can deal with the water pipe that will be
Yeah.
then exposed along Route 10.
It could be done concurrently, but let them figure out how to do it.
Okay. And they'll come to us when they need our permit.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last emails were from today, the city planner of East Hampton asking about that. Hard copy, we have a couple of A&Rs from the planning board for the Breeze, if you want to look at them. One is the property next to the J&E Precision, and the other is on the, they're both on Valley Road, but on different sides of Valley Road. And while they're looking at those, our next meetings will be September 25th. There will not be a meeting on Columbus Day because that's a holiday. So then it would be October 23rd, November 6th, November 20th, if you guys are okay with meeting 3 days before Thanksgiving. Is that getting anybody's way?
I got a couple of those here.
And December 4th and 18th. And Bob, I gave you that, you know what that was for. It's to confirm next year's availability and those, I think that's your schedule. So. Okay, if there's nothing else in that regard, the new business will be for the NOI for DEP number 2890212, the Glendale Road reconstruction application. Applicant is Randall Camp, the Southampton Highway Department Superintendent, and the representative is Daniel Canada.
Canada, yeah.
Canada. From VHB. At this point, I will open the public hearing. The notice had been printed in the Daily Hampshire Gazette on Friday, September 1st, 2017, reading, in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act of the MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Southampton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 11th at 6 p.m. at the Southampton Town Hall, 210 College Highway, to review a notice of intent from Randall Kemp, Southampton Highway Superintendent. The proposed project involves the reconstruction of Glendale Road, which requires work within the 100-foot buffer zone to wetland resource areas. Copies of the application and plans are available for review at the Southampton Town Hall, 210 College Highway, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Marla Hank, Chair, Southampton Conservation Commission. And for the record, we would note that a check was received for the Gazette advertisement for $97.37. The certified mail was sent to the abutters, which is why you're here, so this is a receipt of the green cards for certified mail. Now, my understanding from reading this is that the delineations were done in October 2009?
They have been checked informally since, but yes, that was the official delineation of this site here.
And just for your information, because it's referred to in the NOI, there is no Southampton Wetlands Protection Bylaw.
Yes, I know it was considered though, correct, at one point? There was, and I know there was a 25-foot notice dirt that was being considered in that.
Yep,
so.
but it's not.
Okay.
No, it was tabled, so it couldn't be voted on. And I think the property, one of the properties on there you have labeled as Water Commission property is really Conservation Commission property. And since that's us, we get a little, that one's ours.
Okay.
All right, I will ask people to, for this particular part of the meeting, limit your questions relating to the wetlands that are being discussed. We know that you might possibly have other questions about your property, but there will be a little mini meeting following this one where then you can ask your other questions, because these people will still be here with the screen, and you're already here. So it will be just minutes later, because this is the last item on our agenda. So.
Very good. All right, so thank you for having us tonight. I'm Dan Canada, a wetland environmental scientist with VHB. So this presentation will be on the second phase of the Glendale Road project, and this is going to run from College Highway and run northwesterly approximately 3/4 of a mile, just shy of that, to Pomeroy Meadow Road. I'll be beginning to go through here and take a look at the wetland resource areas in the vicinity of the project. I have Amanda Bazinet with me, the project engineer. She'll be discussing more of the structural and stormwater components.
Is that a little bit fuzzy for focus? It also could be my eyes.
No, it is a little bit. I was trying to... So in terms of resource areas that we have in the vicinity of the project limits, right to the south of College Highway, we have a combination of emergent marsh and scrub shrub transitional wetland. This is going to be its buffer zone is going to extend just into the extreme limits of work at the southern limit end there. So no impacts are proposed to that there. Additionally, we have two resource areas located to the east of Glendale Road. And these are mostly forested wetlands dominated by red maple, other typical forested wetland species as well. They are going to be adjacent to some stormwater outfalls, and we are proposing to put compost filter tubes along the edge of the roadway project here, making sure that they are keyed in and not allowing any sediment transport from construction of this outfall, or also any of the work going on in the roadway. The roadway work in this area is going to be a combination of hot mixed asphalt and a little bit of roadway widening, and that will extend into the buffer zone. But again, there will be no impacts to the resource area itself. And the same is true for this intermittent stream, which runs to the west of the roadway there. It is far enough away from the project limits, so we're not going to be impacting that as well. And the last wetland is another forested wetland. There's an additional stormwater outfall that will be proposed right here, and another compost filter tube component will run along the edge of the project limits. We'll also be doing some catch basin replacement throughout the project, and silt sacks will be installed in other catch basins to prevent any sedimentation reaching them as well.
Could you please repeat that last sentence?
Sorry, we'll be installing catch basin inlet protection, or in the form of silt sacks, to prevent any sediment discharge into those catch basins. During the construction phase, yes. And we will be replacing them as well. Amanda, would you like to speak a little more to any of the construction? Are there any questions regarding the existing conditions or any of the erosion controls that we're proposing?
Yes.
Sure.
In this particular case, you're going to be dumping stormwater right on my property line. Now, am I seeing a sediment basin there? That green?
This is actually the wetland right here. So this is the boundary of the wetlands here, and the orange line up here is the 100-foot buffer that extends from that. The stormwater basin outfall is right here, and this is going to be a temporary system of erosion controls. They'll be installed during the construction phase of the project.
Okay, and which direction are you shedding the water?
The water will be going in the direction of the wetland. So
Where is that wetland in relation to my property line?
I'm not certain your answer, but I know that this is owned by the inhabitants of the town of Southampton. This is the nearest property line over here.
Well, they're dumping water right now, and they said it's going onto the town property, but it's migrating over to mine.
Based on what we have for easements, do you have the
I would question delineation, because the town property was his property.
No, they
and it's
wouldn't be.
where the old canal ran, and there's water that runs through there pretty regular.
Yeah.
Could be just drainage, but.
I'm concerned about erosion.
Well, it's certainly something we can look into further. Right now, our intent is not to send it onto other properties. It should be staying on this property in the direction of this wetland, the way it's being graded.
You have a storm water outfall, that was where the old canal was? Or is this one right here?
See,
Can't really see the landmarks well on there, so where we're at.
just extend this out. So is this the other wetland that you
Yes,
want
that's
us
the
to
other
look at?
one
Yes.
right there. Yep, so that's the.
No, what was your answer? What property were you concerned
Your
with?
firm, 12 Glendale Road.
12 Glendale Road.
It's just to the west of the part of the, kind
This
of
one.
cuts into
This is-
the conservation property.
So this is your property here.
Yeah, it could be. If the house and the barn.
Yeah.
So based on the grading we have, and we do have plans with us that we can show you with the existing ground, your property is set up from where we are outfalling, so it should all be below your barn and everything like that. It should not be.
It's below it, but it's the old canal, and it's
Water flows through there
basin.
most
Water
of the year.
flows right through there.
But that's not delineated or didn't make the delineation. I question that.
All right. We will take note of that.
Do you know if any of the delineation flagging is still there from 2009?
From the original ones, I do not believe it's there at this point.
It could be an outfall.
Are there outfalls currently in these positions?
There is I'll go over what we have out there right now. Currently, there are only catch basins located in the southerly 250 feet of the roadway. It is tying into the drainage on College Highway in this area. These two catch basin structures are proposed to be removed and replaced with new deep sump hooded catch basin structures, and they will continue to tie into the system. The rest of the roadway right now is a mixture of country drainage and a few paved waterways. There is an existing paved waterway in the vicinity of the new outfall proposed by 12 Glendale, but it will be going on to the inhabitants of the town of Southampton property. The existing paved waterway is located in this area around Station 8+75. Can you see the little hand? There you go. So we will be providing a new head wall and stone for pipe ends at this location to provide some energy dissipation. On the private property, the town of Southampton property, we're just proposing grading and then the erosion control measures. This head wall will service the middle portion of Glendale Road. This will be the outfall location. Throughout the entire project, we are proposing deep sump hooded catch basin structures and double graded catch basins at low points. The other head wall and outfall are located at the other wetland location that Dan had pointed out. This is where the drainage from the northerly portion of Glendale Road will be captured and outfalled.
What size outfall?
I believe this is an 18-inch pipe. I do have the plans to double check.
So there's no piping going from the road down to the wetland?
No, not beyond this head wall location. We end at the head wall location, and everything beyond that will be done with grading. It's just going to be slope work. There will be stone for pipe ends right at the base of the head wall. The stone will help dissipate the energy of the water coming out of the head wall. Unfortunately, we are limited to what we can propose on these properties because it is Article 97 land. So we can Article 97 land. It is, what is it, for aquifer protection, John?
Yeah, for protection.
So it limits the changes that can be made to this property. We cannot make any permanent changes that are like structures such as pipes. So we have to end at the existing right of way.
Could you go back to where this road meets College Highway? I had a question about a couple of stuff.
Okay. One other thing I did want to mention, in addition to the deep sump hooded catch basins, we do have two locations where we have drainage channels proposed. That's in the vicinity of Hillside Meadows Drive, and after we discuss his question, we can certainly look at that.
And just where the barns are, there's two catch basins now that are kind of up in the air, not being mud. What's going to happen with them?
Are you talking about the ones over in this area?
Right, on both sides of the barns.
So we are only proposing, do you mind if I use this? So, right now, we are proposing to replace these two existing catch basin structures.
Right.
We're curbing everything off through here. There's a high point located in this area. Everything beyond the high point will go to
So
these two
just run
catch
down the
basins.
road? And
Yes,
there'll be dead basins?
yes, those two, those
Well, my
existing
concern
structures
was
will
that
be.
as they are now, when they do fill with water, it leaks into the barns, because they're sand. And we just asked if they were gonna do that, if they're gonna become solid, and let it run through.
They will be precast catch basin structures, and the two located near the barn that you're referring to, those will no longer be there, and these will be brand-new structures.
That's no problem.
So you don't expect there to be an increase in stormwater flow?
There will be an increase in impervious as a result of this project. We are doing our best to try and meet the standards as much as possible. Because it's a redevelopment, we're very limited in right-of-way as well. We're mostly doing it with the closed drainage system and deep sump-headed catch basins. We have sized the pipes appropriately for a 10-year storm, so everything should accommodate that.
I think the only thing that maybe we're concerned about maybe is what it's going to do to the farm. We have the old canal bed, which some of us believe that could be an intermittent stream.
That you're dumping into, and that flows down to another drainage ditch that runs right over to the well.
Yeah, and then you have the wellhead, drinking water wellhead that's over in that area.
Yes, we are going to provide treatment for everything that is on the roadway and the sidewalk that's proposed, just in the form of the deep sump-headed catch basins. That gets us a 25% TSS removal. Right now, everything just sheet flows off the road or goes to the low points and sheet flows, or is directed to some paved waterways located out there. So it will be getting more treatment than it currently is. This is the area I was mentioning as well. We have two drainage channels proposed on either side of Hillside Meadows Drive. At the end of the drainage channels, we will be proposing drop inlets, and it will tie back into the closed drainage system. Because they are not stormwater quality swales, we did not take any credit for any TSS removal at these locations. However, there will be some infiltration and sediment falling out of it at these two spots. Just wanted to call attention to it. These were the two spots where we were able to try and fit some additional treatment in.
Any thought on permeable pavement so that we're not dealing with so much water pouring down the road?
Well, John, what is DOT's, I know that DOT doesn't typically utilize permeable pavement on public roadways. Is there?
I mean, this is going to be the town's, it's the town's road, but when it's rebuilt, the town doesn't have the means to maintain permeable pavement, and it's not something that we would normally propose on a public roadway like this. We would do it on maybe an off parking area or something like that, so it could be treated and then still be under the road. We want to get any drainage out from under the roadway as much as possible. So it wasn't something that we considered on the roadway, because the town doesn't have the means to maintain that.
I know like Acton has done it with,
Town of Acton?
yeah, it says.
No, I'm not, I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure I heard you,
Yeah.
so. I'm saying that the town has limited resources
I understand.
here,
Yeah.
so, and we don't generally propose it under public roadways. We want to get the water out from under the public roadway because it's much more susceptible to freeze-thaw and heaving, so we're trying to get it out from under it.
During construction, how much equipment do you expect to have on a job site?
Honestly, that is not
Yeah.
I
really.
mean,
How
I'm
much?
sorry,
How
how much
much?
equipment?
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna rebuild that whole 3/4 mile stretch, rip up all the pavement down 20 inches, so there's gonna be some significant equipment while they're doing that work, and then putting in new curbing and sidewalk along that stretch, and then that a little bit of drainage. I don't have the exact amount of equipment, but it's a good full season of construction we're expecting next year.
It's just gonna remain in the road bed overnight? Is that the current plan?
Well, I mean, that's really the contractor's responsibility. You can't have anything that's gonna be a danger to the motoring public, and he'd have to make provisions for any property that he wanted to store equipment or store materials of his own, you know, be his own responsibility. The town will be part of with MassDOT, will be part of any pre-construction meeting before the contract gets started, and those are things that we can, you know, see what areas he's going to secure for his equipment and any material laid out and stuff.
We should see a snow prevention plan for that.
I have a question.
Got a question on the back.
Where is that water going to? It's on either side of Hillside Meadow.
The water is going to be collected into a drop inlet, and the drop inlet will connect into the closed drainage system that will eventually make its way to the outfall that we're proposing.
It's the existing system.
There's only existing catch basin structures down by College Highway. There are no existing catch basin structures anywhere beyond 250 feet north of College Highway. Everything is new.
Oh, okay, so the closed system is a new closed system.
Correct.
And where is that pitching to?
There are the closed system.
Yes.
There is it's a very rolling terrain, so there are everything from Pomeroy Meadow is collecting this way to this outfall 9 on the 9 here, this outfall. So everything from the north of this outfall from Pomeroy Meadow Road will be collected down to here. Even at the low point locations, it will tie into the drainage system and then connect to this outfall. A portion of the drainage from south of this outfall will be redirected to this outfall. And then the middle portion of Glendale Road will all be going to the outfall located
And that's all
here.
below grade?
Correct.
Nothing will be on the surface?
Everything will be collected in pipes and piped to these locations.
Because a few years ago, when we built Hillside Meadow,
It's not where any mowings are.
the contractor was told by the Conservation Commission that they could not put a culvert in. And they did put a culvert in, I believe it's 24 inches in diameter, 35 feet of fill, and I can stand underneath that culvert. I'm 6 feet tall, I can reach up, I'd say it's about 8 feet to the bottom of that pipe.
I'm not aware of the culvert. I believe it's located outside of our project limits.
Well,
To be perfectly
all I'm
honest.
saying is that you're asking the residents to trust what the Conservation Commission is supposed to be protecting. And I can tell you that in the past, based on past experience, I don't trust what you're proposing.
Well, I would like to point out, we did not do the Hillside Meadows Drive project. That was private development, I'm assuming. This will be administered by Mass Department of Transportation. They will have a resident engineer on site, making sure that the contractor adheres to the plans and to the order of conditions that are issued by the Conservation Commission. We are not proposing to have any structures above ground. The only thing we'll be seeing are the catch basin inlets. And all of the piping will be located within the roadway with the exception of where we're outfalling, and that will come out and end at the head walls.
So how far below grade are you going? How far below grade?
It
will this
varies.
pipe be?
It varies. In areas where we're shallow, it will be at least 3.5 feet of cover above the pipes. In some areas, in order to make sure that everything will flow to the low point locations where the outfalls are proposed, we can have cover 8 feet going there. We do have our utility plans with us. I can certainly go over that with you after. We do have proposed invert elevations.
What's the picture of the drain pipe?
We utilize an absolute minimum of a 0.4% in some areas where we are having difficulty meeting grades. Generally, it is 1%.
Yes.
You responded to DEP comments?
Did we receive?
We,
Comments?
We got a file number, we got comments.
Yes, I'm just
yes,
asking.
we did. We received them, and
I like your response. I was going to write comments.
yeah, so here's these looks like the stormwater dimensions here.
Standard 6. You were in what, zone 2 or IWPA with public water supply?
There is a
You're only proposing 25% TSS removal, don't you want to try to introduce the water quality on it?
We would ideally like to. Because this is a redevelopment project, we are not required to meet the 80%. We are required to provide the best that we
You're
can.
pushing it there.
I'm
It's maximum extent practicable.
practical.
And
Yes,
you
sir.
didn't say anything in your notice of intent why you can't do anything more.
We did look at several
You
other.
didn't put it in your notice of intent though. So don't say you don't have to get the 80, you have to do maximum extent practical. So you need to tell the commission why you can't do more.
I can certainly go over the other areas we looked at.
Okay.
We did actually give consideration to placing detention basins in addition to the areas where we have outfall locations. Unfortunately, detention basins would be considered a permanent. We could not provide them on these properties. We did look at 2 other locations where we could potentially try and carve out an area for the detention basin here, and then also over here.
But I also mentioned an alternative water quality unit besides not just a deep sound catch basin. That was my comment, right?
Mass DOT does have their own standards as far as what we are allowed to use. Proprietary items are not allowed on Mass
Isn't this
DOT
going to be a
projects.
town road afterward?
But Mass DOT is providing the funding, and
Oh, okay.
on Mass DOT projects, we cannot propose proprietary items.
Okay.
We did also look
So
at.
this needs to be in the notice of intent. 'Cause it wasn't.
We did have additional language in the report, the stormwater report, which was attached. And in the stormwater report, we do go into what we attempted to do for standard 6 in order to try and provide additional information. So we did talk a little bit about the 2 other locations that we looked at, as well as we did look at attempting to make the 2 drainage channels that we have proposed in the vicinity of Hillside Meadows Drive water quality swales. Unfortunately, we could not meet all the standards required to consider them water quality swales, so we did not take any credit for them.
Okay, what about using, are these going to be the paved swales you're talking about?
They are not going to be paved. They're going to be grassed with geotextile fabric and check dams. So we are
That'll slow it down.
Correct.
What about the standard 9 maintenance checklist for the town? There wasn't one in there.
I guess we will have to reach out to the town to see what the town standards are. We generally rely on the town doing their regular standard
Yeah, but
maintenance.
if the commission doesn't know what it is, the commission doesn't know that anything's going to be maintained. And then standard 10, there was no illicit discharge statement.
Correct. We are not proposing, well, there are only a handful of existing areas with existing catch basin structures. It is just here at the beginning of the project. We have
Right, but why
These
does that
two.
prevent you from doing compliance with the tenant?
We don't believe that, we believe we will be complying with it. Unfortunately, we did not know at the time of the filing whether or not there are any off-site portions going into these two catch basin structures. Those are the only two which may be.
Yes, but you also have to verify that there's no, to the best of your ability, there's no illicit discharges currently in the system. As you may have run across or may not have run across some of these old streets, they actually have the gray water entering sometimes into a municipal stormwater system.
Yes, these are the only two structures where we might have this situation. We will certainly double check that they are. The rest of the system is entirely new. No off-site discharges will be allowed.
But, you know, my point being that you still need to dot the i's, cross the t's, provide the information to the commission. Okay, thank you.
What was the reason for no detention basins?
We had looked at attempting to supply them. There were several locations we looked at. The ones that we originally had hoped to provide in the areas of the two new outfall locations, we could not provide due to the fact it's Article 97 land and it would require permanent easements. We looked at providing them on other properties adjacent to the roadway, but we couldn't make it work for grading reasons. In this area, we were aware that I believe there was discussions held with the property owner that there are existing drainage concerns. And in order to outlet the pipe that would be coming from the roadway, we would need to excavate out 9 feet just to daylight the pipe. That wouldn't give us a lot of room to construct a detention basin, and we would not get sufficient treatment out of it. The other location we looked at was over here, right in this area. Unfortunately, same scenario, I believe it was about a 10-foot depth we would have to excavate in order to daylight the pipe before we would be able to start creating the detention basin. In addition, this property owner has a garage right here. We didn't want to create any issues undermining their structures, so we eliminated this location as a potential spot for it.
Did you find an intermittent stream in that location?
We did not. I know that we also did give consideration to providing water quality swales, if we could, within the public right-of-way. Because of the steep grades out there, it really wasn't feasible in certain locations. We did identify 2 spots over by Hillside Meadows Drive where the grading did allow us to provide the drainage channels. But when doing the design for them, we could not meet all of the standards for the water quality swales as far as flow rates and everything like that. So we did not take any credit for any TSS removal we might be getting at these 2 locations. Other spots we did look at, we were not able to fit them in for various reasons, whether it would be removing several more trees or creating significant impacts to the private properties. So those were the other considerations we gave for additional BMPs. Oh yes, and John wanted me to point out the town is responsible for acquiring any permanent right-of-way to install any of this.
Are there any other questions from the public regarding the water at this point?
Make a motion to continue the hearing until when we want, 25th.
All those in favor of?
Is there a discussion on that, if I could? We're respectfully requested that the hearing be closed. You know, the project's due to go out to construction next year. There's no impacts to any resource areas. The stormwater, the town is in the process, or the next process is to acquire the land that's required so that the project can move forward. If we continue, then we're going to delay that for at least another 3 months before the town will be able to move forward on that.
And I'm questioning the delineation.
I understand. I'm asking for consideration that there's a chance to close the hearing due to the limited amount of, if any, impact to the resource areas. And as has been described by my colleagues, there's limited right-of-way for the town to acquire, and we also can't really impact any of the town's property because it's Article 97. We can't put any permanent structures on it and put any kind of water quality treatment in there, so.
I can't support closing.
No, I understand. I just wanted to.
On 8-year-old unconfirmed delineations.
Also, we haven't had a site visit, which is minimally what we would do. Certainly, as Bob had made a motion to continue it, it's only 2 weeks from now. And it was quite a few months ago when I first heard from VHB about possibly scheduling the hearing, and months went by, the season went by, and we didn't get anything till now. So we had nothing to look at prior to this. After one meeting, when we still haven't even viewed the sites, which will be a little more challenging if the wetlands flags aren't even there from 8 years ago, 7 years ago. So I would say, we're not going to be closing the hearing tonight, assuming that Bob's vote, did anyone second it? I'm sorry, I couldn't catch it. Or it's seconded.
We're still in discussion.
Yes, we are.
I may want to change my motion to a further date to allow, so we can have a site visit after it's delineated. As part of the discussion.
Randall Kemp, Highway Superintendent. I met the commission out there 2 months ago. I had the plans. We went over several things. Were there more questions you guys had on the work?
Yes. When we met you out there, we were specifically talking about the parking, because the sidewalk, the widening of the road and the addition of the sidewalk would take away the parking we have for that conservation parcel. And we were also concerned about the curb cuts because heavy farm machinery goes in and out of there. So when, with due respect, when we met with you, we were talking about curb cuts and parking. We were not talking about the water outfalls at all. So this is about, yes, Bob was there, Brittany was there, I was there. We were talking about curb cuts and parking of hunters and people walking their dogs on the property, not water systems.
Well, if the commission votes to continue, you still need to consider the applicant.
Absolutely, of course, because otherwise, it's my understanding we could vote and we would possibly vote to deny it because we don't have sufficient information. I understand that's an option. You're correct. Are there any other questions on this? So
My question would be, before we vote on it, can the wetlands be delineated and we get a site visit before our next meeting?
We just have to confirm with the town if they're in favor.
Yes, we'll get the boundaries delineated before the next meeting.
Is it not necessary to get the one across the street done? Are we okay with that?
we don't need the one. We don't need the one across College Highway. That's, we know where that is.
Okay.
That's not your concern.
Okay, so it would just be the two located to the east of Glendale.
So the question would be, would you agree to the continuation till and one can continue it again, of course, if need be, but continue it to 6 p.m. at September 25th. Well, but for us to vote to continue, I'm not sure which, is this a chicken and egg thing? Should they agree to it before we vote? Right, so if they allow that continuation, then we can vote on it, because there's no point if they, because then we'd be taking a different vote. Thank you, Mark.
So yes, we would accept the continuance.
Yes. So all those in favor of continuing till 6 PM on September 25th?
Aye.
5, yes. At this point, then we would have to schedule, after you've done whatever you're going to be doing for the site visit, are there any dates or times that, I know Bob's schedule is a little more difficult to arrange for site visits?
Actually pretty open, we don't run a day.
Is it during the day?
During the day, during the week. When normal people work.
Well, then that leaves tea, but
That's what I'm thinking, when normal people work.
I guess you probably need to be doing some work this week to get this accomplished and then get back to me so that we can then arrange to make sure there's a time that the maximum number of people can be here to attend the site visit.
Correct. Okay.
T, are there any days during the day you could go?
I'll make something work. I mean, let's let these guys get the delineation, and we'll talk about that.
Okay. Okay. So with that, it's continued. However, this is now the formal continuation of this hearing. If we can adjourn our meeting, but for those of you who are here, if you have any other questions unrelated to the wetlands part of it, the people are still here to answer your questions. It's just we who are leaving. These guys are here because our water business is done for the evening.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.